What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down some very new developments on the charts for all these different tickers. What's happening with Tesla is we're approaching a very critical support right now, which you should be watching for as time goes on for all these different charts. Before I break things down, let me just mention I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And anyways, looking at the way the market's moving, we are seeing a bit of a drop right now. SPY is actually down quite a bit. We're actually down 0.7%. I did break down to everyone in my video from yesterday that the current technicals do favor the downside. I was expecting some downside. That's what's happening so far. It's actually acting as a catalyst for Tesla. It's causing it to dip a little bit as well. Tesla's down 1.45% during the pre-market, and we're approaching some very key support exactly as you predicted yesterday. I did say Tesla may dip a bit, and that's what's happening thus far. So the question is, what's actually causing this dip? What's the news saying about the markets in Tesla, and what should you be watching for as time goes on? Just know that today is Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Today, we actually have some very important stuff coming out. At 10 o'clock a.m., 30 minutes after the market opens, we have some manufacturing numbers. And then at 10:30 a.m., we have some services numbers coming out from the Dallas Fed. So lots of manufacturing and services numbers coming out for the first 30 minutes to 1 hour of the trading day. Then we have some bill auctions at 11:30 a.m., followed by the Fed Beige Book at 2 p.m. This is going to be very important. Now, speaking of the Fed Beige Book, please note that right now we're seeing something interesting. A lot of the Fed speakers were saying that they may not be doing any cuts this summer. They may have to keep rates for higher for longer. And that's been the norm for the last couple of days with all these different Fed speakers. As a result of all these speeches from the Fed speakers, the 10-year treasury yield is now back above 4.5%. Why is that important? Because with the weak auctions and all this talk about, keeping rates for higher for longer and all this talk about that, the market is seeing a big shift. Yields are going up, which is driving the markets down. Once again, when the Fed is more hawkish, yields go up, market goes down. That's what's been happening so far, and that is one catalyst that's caused the market to dip a bit. This is very similar to what we were predicting. The market did get a bit of a dip, and that is still affecting the way that we are moving. So that's something that's worth noting. That's part of why the market is dropping. For earnings, real quick, we just had Chewy.com, Dick's Sporting Goods, and just a few others just made some important announcements. I want to just go over these real quick. Chewy did relatively well with their overall growth. We saw net sales up 3.1%, good growth, beating EPS and revenue from what I was looking at. And then their fiscal 2024 is off to a solid start, not bad whatsoever, with decent guidance. And they also talked about a stock repurchase program of up to $500 million, which is bullish for the share price. That's why the share price is up quite a bit. Then we also had American Airlines. They just lowered their second quarter outlook. The airline said that it expects units to fall. Unfortunately, the revenue may fall as much as 6%. And they ended up seeing their EPS projections actually a little bit lower than what we expected before. So it's now trailing behind that of Delta. Not the best of news for them. There are some headlines coming out about GameStop, about how it's getting a lot more attention right now. It also announced that it made nearly $1 billion from selling 45 million common shares. That's something that's very important. GameStop, are we about to see a big squeeze? I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but that's what I'm seeing in terms of the news. Now, for Tesla, we're seeing some news that Tesla's Giga Berlin is drawing new businesses to Eastern Brandenburg. And that's actually very important because new warehouses are being built around there. That's actually helping to build not only uh, lithium ion batteries, but also it's helping businesses around the local area. So that's going to be something else that's worth noting. It's attracting a lot of logistics companies. So we're seeing a lot of attention with that. And the CEO of Lucid said that Tesla is losing its way. Don't forget that he has different intentions because his job is once again not to favor Tesla, but to favor Lucid. So he said that he felt like Tesla's losing its way. It doesn't have the sense of purpose it once did, and he also said there's a clear distraction there from the leadership. He didn't really call out Elon Musk, but he did say that about the company itself. Could I agree with that? To some extent, yeah, you could argue that there are some valid points that he made, but at the same time, you have to argue that this guy is he has his own intentions. The Lucid CEO is just trying to favor Lucid, and he has a very biased point of view in my personal opinion. So that's something that's just worth noting. He's making a lot of headlines right now. He said that Tesla's losing its way. Do I think that? I personally think that you could argue that Musk is kind of distracted a lot because he has so much on his hand, especially with X and all these different companies. But simultaneously, I don't think that Tesla's truly losing its way. I think that fundamentally Tesla is getting stronger. Their shift into the AI developments will be very bullish for Tesla, and they are still continuing to focus on growth, which they will end up recovering. So I still think Tesla's doing very well for the longer term. I still think Tesla is going to succeed. I don't necessarily think that it's truly losing its way in that sense. In a way, could you argue that they're taking a different path? Yes. And could you argue that Elon Musk is distracted? Yes, you could argue that. And I do agree with some of those points. But once again, guys, I still think Tesla's in a very, very great path for the long term. Anyways, let's talk about the share price, what's going on with the Tesla. Like I said in my previous video, Tesla loves to get these rejections off 180 and 182. We also like to get bought between 172 and 173. I think right now Tesla's dipping to about 173. We're currently in the 174s, so look for a little bit more downside for Tesla and watch and see how we kind of shuffle between 172 to 173. We could try to bounce off that, continue to shuffle in this range, but look for a little bit more downside first nonetheless. That's going to likely be what we end up seeing. If we lose 172, then we're going to likely be dipping all the way down towards not just 170, but this gap fill at around 168. That's going to be our next target if Tesla loses 172. For the last couple of weeks, every time we hit this 173 area, Tesla love to bounce. But it's looking a little bit more bearish right now. It does look like it's going to be testing 172 to 173. And we'll see if this holds or not. If we lose this, look for more downside to fill this gap down here. If we hold this, then we're just going to bounce and continue to shuffle in this range. So I'll be watching this very carefully. Resistance watch 175, 176, and then also 178. Expect Tesla to dip just a little bit, and then we'll see how it ends up reacting to support. If we lose it, there's going to be a bigger drop. If we bounce off this, we're just going to continue to shuffle. All right, so looking at some more tickers, we have SPY. SPY is dipping quite a bit. We're currently at 525.8. I talked about how we had this pennant that was forming. I said we're going to likely see a break to the downside. I was favoring downside. And that's what's happening so far, especially as we had a head and shoulders. So I think we're going to be dipping all the way down to at least 24.8. And if we lose that, we have a gap to fill all the way down towards 523. And if that fails us, just the 521 area, those are going to be our supports. I do favor downside. I think 524s are coming at the very least, followed by 523 and even lower levels. So I do expect more downside for SPY. We look more bearish. The trend is favoring that. To get back to bullish, you want to try to get back above 528. We're pretty far from that. We still favor more downside, so I do expect that to be the most likely possibility. For Nvidia, even Nvidia is coming down just a bit, but it's not that bad overall. It's still holding up relatively well. If we were to continue to fall, I would say watch basically 1120. 1120 is going to be a key support for us. If we lose that 1120 to 1125 area, then yes, we could be dipping lower towards 1100 flat. But for now, I'll be watching 1120. We happen to have resistance at 1140 to 1150, and overall, I do anticipate that some downside is more probable for Nvidia. But watch and see how we hold around 1125 to 20 EMA. Lose that, then look for 1100. If we hold that, then we could just continue to shuffle between 1120 and 1140. So look for sideways price action here. If we lose 1120, we're dipping all the way down to 1100. Watch and see how well we hold the 20 EMA. That's going to be key for us. Bitcoin's dipping. This is what I called out in my earlier video. I saw some downside for Bitcoin. Here we are at this 67,900 area, kind of shuffling right here. It does like to bounce. So could we get a little bounce and retest the 20 EMA? We could retest 68,128, but we'll see if it rejects or not again, because we're still kind of stuck in this range, at least for the time being. So we'll see how things go. Moving forward, when it comes to the QQQ, in my personal opinion, is actually dipping a little bit more. We have kind of like a slanted head and shoulders like structure. We also have this gap to fill all the way down here at 453, and we're barely at 455 right now, the support. So we have resistance at 457. If that breaks, we have our EMAs in that entire area. Then we have this imbalance around 459 as resistance. We have support currently at 455. If you continue to fall, 453 is going to be our target. What do I think is more probable? Like I said in my earlier video, I think that this chart favors a little bit more down, so we might come down to fill this gap towards 453 soon. So I do think that we might try to shuffle around 455 for some time, but then I could see some more downside a little bit later on. Anyways, for Aapl, we're also dipping a little bit more. We're currently at 190, but we're testing the 50 EMA as resistance, 190.5 as resistance, 192 above that, and 189 as support, followed by 188. This looks to me like it might reject and retest 189.3, shuffle for some time and maybe see some downside. Could be making a move back down to 188, which could trigger more downside for the markets, so watch for that. Now, for a few more, we have Amazon dipping towards 180. We'll see if 180 holds on Amazon. If we lose that, look for 178. If it bounces off this, we're going back up to 182. Overall, we're just barely holding 180, so watch and see if we lose it or not. Coinbase is dipping a bit. Watch for a test of 235. If we lose that, we could be going all the way down to 232 again. It is looking like it's going to turn a little bit temporarily. For Meta, we got a rejection on Meta. We're now below basically support. We have 474 as support. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping down to 470. If we bounce off it, look for 476 as resistance, and the gap fill to 478. But we do favor downside right now. How about GameStop? Just real quick, GameStop dipping a bit, not getting a big bounce. I told you I want to see it hold above these supports. We're at support right now at 21.8. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping all the way down to this imbalance at 19. If we hold this, we're going to see we're going to bounce back up. But this is looking a little bit weaker to me. AMC is also looking kind of weak with the overall market. Might dip towards not just 4.8 but 4.65 just for a little bit more downside. The VIX is at 14, exactly as predicted, guys. The VIX did get a bounce. I did call this out. It's something that I was anticipating, and that's how things are going for now. All this pressure in the markets is causing Tesla to dip a bit, so watch that support around this 173 zone. We'll see how well Tesla holds up, if we get a rejection or not. We'll see if we get a bounce or not off this support. If we lose it, there'll be more downside. So watch for that very carefully. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. I'll see you guys very soon, just a few hours, and peace out.